And we are back with more on News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us on this edition of the Mark Bertrana Show. Well, as you know, there are literally millions of Canadians who are basically trapped in their own country. If you read articles, say, in newspapers like the Epoch Times, they see Canada as a prison, literally for millions of people. And they see this government in Ottawa as a jailer. That's right. Problem being, of course, that if you're not fully vaccinated with the COVID jabs in Canada, well, you're not able to fly, for instance, on a commercial flight. You're not able to take a train. You're not able to take a ferry. And so this is an outrageous situation. It always fascinates me that pundits in the media don't seem to understand that this is really at the core of who we are as Canadians, the right to be able to leave, mobility rights. I mean, these are the types of things that are in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and they are being treated like so much toilet paper. That's why it gives me a lot of pleasure to bring in Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada, because he's very much involved in the fight to bring the situation to court, along with Brian Peckford, of course, a signatory that you're working with to the Charter of Rights. Welcome once again, Maxime.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be with you. And yes, Mark, you're absolutely right. It is my constitutional right to be able to travel freely across this country. And now, I'm in Halifax right now. I just did a road trip from Montreal because I cannot travel by plane. And I'm here in the Atlantic Canada for another week. I'm meeting our people and doing some rallies. But that being said, the good news is we will have, when I'm saying we, myself and Brian Peckford, we are, as you know, suing the federal government because, we cannot travel across this country. And our hearing will be September the 19th, will be 4 days in court over there. And we may have a decision before December. And that's important because in the last budget, Justin Trudeau gave $37 million to Transport Canada to be sure that Transport Canada will keep these draconian restrictions and unscientific restriction for the next 3 years. So we need to fight that. I'm fighting that in court. And if we have a positive decision in our favor, all that will be passed. And for everybody across the country, everybody will be able to travel freely in their country. And I must add, Mark, we are the only country on this planet that has that kind of restrictions. It's unconstitutional, illegal, immoral, not based on science. Trudeau is doing only that to punish us, people that decided not to have the two shots. Because for him, he's a traditional politician and he's doing politics based on survey and polling. And he knows that we won't vote for him. So for him, the political cost is zero. So he is punishing us and dividing our population like he did at the last electoral campaign. It's a big segregation in our country. And yeah. I think, a prime minister must unite everybody, not having that divisive politics that he had and is doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen the mood of Canadians become very sour over the last few months as more and more people realize that something is very wrong in our country right now. We saw this protest directed at Jagmeet Singh for propping up Justin Trudeau. So he's been under attack. We've seen the F Trudeau campaign continue on. Of course, we all saw what the convoy was about. You were involved in that as well. People are not in the kind of mood that we normally expect Canadians to be in. So they're angry. And so I'm sure that many of them are rooting for you in terms of a legal measure that you are now taking. On what grounds are you fighting this travel mandate?
on our Charter of Rights and Section 6 of our Constitution. And I'm not alone with Brian Peckford. And as you said in the beginning, Brian was there. Brian was the former Prime Minister of Newfoundland, and he wrote that Charter of Rights with other Prime Minister and other premiers, sorry, and Prime Minister Trudeau at that time in 1982. So he knows what was the intent when they wrote that Charter of Rights. And I hope that we'll be able to win that. But if we don't win, Mark, I just want to let you know, we will appeal that up to the Supreme Court of Canada.
Well, you may have to, because this prime minister, as we've just saw with the Alberta Appeals Court decision on the No More Pipelines bill, the government is appealing that. So they're dragging this through the courts. I mean, they have no interest to let go. It's my personal belief, as I look at the reasons for this travel mandate, that if anything, the government wants to raise the bar in terms of what qualifies as fully vaccinated. I think they'd like to add a booster in there and say, well, it's not just 2 shots anymore. It's going to be 3 shots. And if you don't have this punitive measure, like a travel ban in place, people are going to say, well, no, why should I bother? I have no interest in getting a booster shot. As we have seen, I mean, most Canadians have not gotten it. So clearly, if they wanted it, they could go ahead and get it. But the vast majority of Canadians have declined to get this shot. So in order to use the carrot and stick, the stick being travel bans, that may be the only thing they have in order to push Canadians into getting that 3rd shot. What do you think about that possibility?
I think you have a point there, Mark. And yes, because also don't forget, Trudeau bought for $millions of shots. And I think we have in Canada enough shots for everybody to have 8 to 10 shots. So I believe that he will try this next winter to force everybody to have that 3rd shot. But it will be harder a little bit because more people understand. A lot of people had COVID and didn't die with COVID. They didn't die. It was a big cold for them, a big flu for them. And they know that that virus is only deadly for older people with comorbidities. And so I believe that it will be harder for him to change the definition of fully vaccinated. But I strongly believe that he will try. That's why we cannot take for granted our freedoms. And that's why we are there. For us, fighting for freedoms is not new. I was there in the beginning of that pandemic when all that started. And, we did the first rally in Montreal. We had 100 people there. My last rally in Montreal, 45,000 people. So, we and more people are on board now. So that's why there's two kinds of battles. The one in the court that I'm doing, and the other one to change the public opinion that I'm doing also as a leader of a national political party.
I want to ask you, as you watch the Conservative Party of Canada leadership race, we just had another debate. I don't know if you watched any of that clown show yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about some of the things that these prospective candidates are saying? In a way, their message in quite a few cases is quite similar to the one that you've been pushing now for several years, which is that Canadians need freedom from their government. In other words, the level of government overreach has reached the level of dangerous now. And Canadians have valid concerns, especially when you look at things like the government freezing bank accounts with the help of the banking system. And then they wonder why people would be gravitating towards Bitcoin. Well, I mean, billions of dollars filtered out of Canada after that was done. So there's more and more people coming around to the idea that there's something very, very wrong with this regime in Ottawa and that we need to do something about it now before things get too bad. What are your thoughts about now these prospective candidates, these candidates for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada, and what they're saying to hopefully for them, like, win the leadership?
But that is just proving my point. I always said that they're opportunists. They don't have any conviction. Now, because it's popular to speak about freedom, they are doing that right now. But where were they the last 2 years? Nowhere to be seen. They were silent. They approved everything that Trudeau did, lockdowns and all that, and all these programs to give money to Canadians and creating that huge deficit that we are paying now. We are paying the inflation tax 6.7%. So they're not credible. I said in the past, and I believe in that, you must judge a politician by his or her actions. And I was on the ground, and actually I started my campaign as a politician in 2006. And in 2006, I was speaking about freedom at that time. I was saying that we are not free in our country when 50% of your salary is going to taxes, to your municipal, provincial, and federal government, and you are working for these governments the first 6 months of the year, and the tax freedom day is the 1st of July. So you're like a slave. You can do what you want, but the government will take 100% of your income the first 6 months of the year. I was saying that in 2006. And so I'm happy now that they're speaking and they try to promote freedom. That's great. But we cannot trust them because they don't have any conviction. And I'm pretty sure they are in the leadership contest for the Conservative Party of Canada. You must speak like a conservative to win the leadership, like I did in 2017. I didn't win with 49% of the vote, like O'Toole did. And now they're speaking like conservative because they want to be the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. But this party is only conservative in name, and they will switch to the left. Why? It's simple. Because they're doing pollings and focus group, and there's more seats in the GTA than in all Alberta. So they want to have seats in the GTA and in Vancouver. So that's the only way for them to be in power. And I can tell you, if it's Poilievre or another candidate, that candidate will want to be prime minister, and they will do everything, and they will please everybody to be able to be prime minister. But that's why we cannot trust them. They don't have any conviction. They're not conservative. And just I said that when I left, that party is morally and intellectually corrupt. And we had proof of that in the past, and we'll have other proof of that in the future.
Last time you got over 800,000 votes, correct?
840,000 votes all across the country.
Okay, it was a quantum leap from the previous election. Do you think that given this push by most of the members of that are running for the leadership, that they'll try to eat into that growing level of support for the People's Party? Do you think that might hurt you if they have a candidate who is a rock solid, at least comes out and speaks compellingly about the types of issues that we all care about, namely freedom and the concern over government overreach?
I don't think so, Mark, for one reason. We have a lot of people that are coming to us, and that's not only former conservatives. I'm here in New Brunswick, and people who are coming to our rallies, they're former NDP. Actually, in PI, our organization over there, it's former Green Party people that voted for the Green Party. We are able to attract people from different political backgrounds because they believe in us. They know that we are doing politics differently. They know that we are authentic, and they know that the platform of today will be the platform of tomorrow. For the Conservative Party of Canada, they are speaking like conservative right now, but they'll do some polling and focus group. And a couple of months before the election, they will have their real platform, that it will be a leftist platform. So for us, we can grow. And don't forget us also, Mark, there's 40% of the population that didn't vote. And yesterday I saw a man, 62 years old. He told me at the last election, that was the first time that I voted for a political party at the federal level, and I voted for you. And I said, thank you, because if we have only half of these people, we will be at 20%. So we can grow, and we will grow. People understand what our vision of this country, and our vision is very coherent and based on 4 principles, and we will never do any compromise with our principle, and we are not pandering to any special interest group. That's what the liberals, the conservatives are doing. They are doing identity politics, pandering, and they all believe in mass immigration. So there's a lot of distinctions between the PPC and Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada. We will allow a debate on abortion. Pierre Poilievre is pro-choice. He won't allow that. we we will use the Constitution to build pipelines, and that means that we'll impose a pipeline on Quebec and on BC. Pierre Poilievre won't use the Constitution because he wants to buy vote in Quebec and in Vancouver, in BC. There's a lot of subject, they all voted for the conversion therapy. They believe that, a young boy, it may not be a young boy, that person may be a young girl. And they all voted for that. We are against that. They are for extreme multiculturalism. So there's a lot of distinction with us and them. And I believe that that's why we'll be able to grow.
All right. With the minute that we've got left, do you want to talk about your campaign? It's like you're in campaign mode right now, but you're doing a lot of traveling across the country. You want to talk a little bit about where you're headed and your next rally?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I decided to come in Atlantic Canada because I was not able to be in Atlantic Canada during the last electoral campaign. I was not able to travel. So now I'm here, and it's a road trip. I was in New Brunswick, in PEI, in Cape Breton, in Nova Scotia right now. And I'll be back in New Brunswick next week. And after that, my goal is to do another tour in Ontario and in Quebec by car. As soon as I will have the right to travel by plane, I will be back in Western Canada. But what I'm doing right now is we want to be sure that we'll have our candidates for the next election. Our goal is to have 60% of our candidates approved and selected before the end of this year. And so we are building the organization and doing small rallies with our members and answering their questions and building the organization. At the last election, we had 313 candidates on 338 ridings. This time we'll have a full slate, and I'm meeting great people that are ready to fight for our country. We don't recognize our country anymore, and they're ready, and we'll do that together.
Maxime Bernier, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark. Have a nice day.
And good luck with your campaign. All right, that is Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada, joining us from New Brunswick. And let's take a quick commercial break. Back with more on News Talk Saga 960 and the Mark Petrona Show after this.